My father-in-law harassed me for years. People says the deepest grief in life is burying your loved ones. But the truth, my child, is that there is another grief, heavier, more invisible. It is the grief of being alive and unheard. The grief of screaming silently in a room full of people who refuse to listen. My pain did not come from the grave. My pain came from the living. From the very people who were supposed to protect me. From the walls of the house that was meant to be my home, I carried wounds that did not bleed. I carried bruises that nobody could see. And the cruelest part? When I finally gathered the courage to speak, my words were crushed under the weight of disbelief. Tonight, I tell you my story. Not because I enjoy revisiting my wounds, but because silence nearly killed me. And silence is killing many women like me. Even now, listen closely. For what I share is not just a tale of suffering, it is a tale of fire, of courage, and of survival. A reminder that sometimes, the strongest warriors are hidden in the quiet faces you see every day. This is my story. I was 18 when I got married. 18, just a child in a woman's dress, carrying the weight of expectations that I barely understood. Still remember my wedding night. The room filled with laughter, the glow of lamps, the whispers of women adjusting my veil. My mother held my hands and whispered, "Be patient, Beta. This is your new family now. Respect them, obey them, and you will win their hearts." Her words were not advice, they were instructions carved deep into my soul. For in our culture, a girl is taught from the start, her honor lies not in her dreams, but in her silence. When I entered my husband's home, I tried to embrace it with all my heart. I woke before the sun, cooked with trembling hands, scrubbed floors until my fingers cracked. Each smile from my in-laws felt like a reward. Each frown, a thundercloud over my head, and then, there was my father-in-law. A man everyone in the neighborhood respected. People called him wise, pious, a man of strong character. Women lowered their eyes when he passed, men sought his advice. To me, he was supposed to be a guardian, a second father. I wanted to believe that my new home was a safe haven. That my dreams of love, children, and laughter would come true. But behind those walls, shadows waited. Shadows I could not yet see, but could already feel crawling under my skin. The first time it happened, it was so subtle, I convinced myself it was an accident. A touch that lingered too long. A gaze that felt too heavy. I brushed it aside, telling myself, he is an elder, he must not realize. But inside, a seed of fear was planted. And once planted, fear grows quickly. Days passed. Little things began to change. He would find excuses to call me into empty rooms. His voice would soften in ways that made me uncomfortable. His compliments carried a weight that pressed on my chest. I told myself I was imagining things. That maybe I was wrong. After all, who was I to question the honor of a man my entire community respected? So I stayed silent. Silence, my child, is heavy. It starts as a stone in your chest and grows into a mountain. And soon, I was carrying a mountain no one else could see. My father-in-law had a way of controlling a room. He spoke, and people listened. He commanded respect with his deep voice and carefully chosen words. To the outside world, he was a man of wisdom. To me, he became something else. It began with small things. He would praise me too much, in ways that didn't feel right. "You are the most beautiful daughter-in-law," he would say, staring too long. His hand would brush mine when it didn't need to. When I served food, he would place his hand on my shoulder, and I would freeze. I wanted to believe it was innocent. That he was just affectionate, fatherly. But deep inside, I knew something was wrong. My heart would race whenever he entered the room. My stomach tightened when I heard his footsteps in the hallway. One evening, I was alone in the kitchen, rolling dough. He came in quietly and stood behind me. Too close. His presence was suffocating. He asked, "Why do you work so hard? You deserve more than this." His voice was soft, almost kind, but it chilled my blood. I moved away quickly, pretending I had to fetch something. My hands shook as I worked. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I was overreacting, but the truth, my child, is that a woman's instincts rarely lie. We feel danger before it speaks. And I felt it every time he looked at me. Silence is a prison. And I lived in it for months. I tried to ignore him. I avoided being alone in the same room. I timed my chores so I was never nearby. But he always found a way. A question here, a comment there, a hand that lingered too long. I wanted to tell someone. I wanted to scream, "I am not safe here." But in our culture, speaking against an elder is like spitting at the sky. It only falls back on you. One night, I gathered courage and told my husband. My voice trembled, my words stumbled. I said, "Something is not right. Your father, he makes me uncomfortable." He stared at me as if I had insulted him. Then he laughed bitterly and said, "You must be imagining things." My father? He is respected by the whole village. How dare you say such a thing? I tried to explain, but he cut me off. His face hardened. Enough. Don't ever speak of this again. You will ruin our family's honor. That night, I cried quietly into my pillow, biting my hand so no one would hear me. The man who promised to protect me had chosen his father over me. My words had turned to dust. When I tried to share with my mother-in-law, she looked at me with contempt. "Shame on you," she hissed. A daughter-in-law accusing her father-in-law? Disgusting. Control your tongue or I will throw you out. The walls of that house became a cage. I could not leave, I could not speak. Every smile I forced was a mask over my trembling soul. People outside saw me and said, "She is lucky. She lives in a good family. Her father-in-law is such a noble man." Each word was a knife twisting inside me. I began to lose weight. Food tasted like ash. My hair started falling out. My laughter disappeared. But no one asked why. They just said, "She is weak. She is moody. She is not adjusting well." In truth, I was dying inside. Every day was a battle between silence and survival. My child, do you know what hurts most? Not the harassment. Not even the fear. What hurt me most was the disbelief. To live through pain and then be told it does not exist, that is a cruelty no soul deserves, but I endured. Because what choice did I have? Where could I go? Who would take me in? A daughter-in-law who accuses her father-in-law is not seen as a victim, she is seen as a curse. So I stayed. Silent. Suffering. Invisible. Months of holding in my fear began to eat me alive. My hands trembled when I touched water. My heartbeat raced at the sound of his footsteps. I avoided mirrors because the woman staring back at me looked like a stranger, hollow eyes, dry lips, skin pale like winter. One night, I sat alone, the entire house asleep. The clock ticked loudly in the silence. I stared at my reflection in the small cracked mirror on the wall. I did not see a young woman anymore. I saw a prisoner. A shadow, tears streamed down my face, and I whispered, "Who am I now? Is this my life? Am I destined to carry this shame forever?" That night, something inside me shifted. A small voice rose from deep within, trembling yet fierce. No. Enough. I realized that if I remained silent, I would not just lose my peace, I would lose myself. My dignity was slipping away each day I kept quiet. And I could not let that happen, so I decided to fight. Not because I was fearless, but because I was terrified. Terrified of what would happen if I did nothing, the next morning, I began writing. Every incident. Every moment. Every word he said. I hid the papers under my clothes, close to my skin, as if protecting a secret flame. I started watching carefully. When he entered a room, I noted the time. When he made a comment, I memorized it. I turned my pain into evidence. This was not easy. Each day felt like walking on fire. I feared he would discover my secret, that my husband would tear my notes and call me mad. But for the first time, I felt a spark of power, and when you taste even a drop of courage after drowning in fear, it is enough to keep you going. Taking a stand is never easy, my child. The moment you raise your voice, the world turns against you. When I finally gathered courage, I spoke. I told my husband again, this time firmly. I showed him my notes, my trembling handwriting, the details only I could know. He looked at me with rage. "Stop this nonsense," he shouted. "Do you want to destroy this family's honor? My father is respected by everyone. If you spread these lies, people will spit on us." I held my ground, though my knees shook. "This is not about honor," I whispered. "This is about my dignity, my safety, my truth." But he stormed out, slamming the door. Words spread quickly. My mother-in-law spat cruel words at me, calling me a snake, an ungrateful woman. Neighbors whispered, some laughed, some pitied me. Everywhere I turned, I was alone, but I had already crossed the line of no return. Silence was no longer an option. I went to the authorities. With shaking hands, I gave my testimony. They listened, but I could see doubt in their eyes. To them, I was just another woman accusing a man of power. Still, I returned again and again. I repeated my story until my throat was dry, until my tears no longer fell. Each visit, I carried my notes, my evidence, my truth. The battle was long. Days turned into weeks. Some officials mocked me, others ignored me. People in the village whispered, "She is shameless. She has destroyed her family," but slowly, cracks began to show in his mask. He slipped, he made mistakes, and people began to question. Witnesses came forward, quietly at first, then more boldly. My notes matched their whispers, and finally, justice began to tilt in my favor. The man who once walked with pride, respected and untouchable, was now questioned. For the first time, his shadow looked smaller than mine. The trial was long. Evidence was examined. Witnesses hesitated. Some backed away in fear. Some, to my surprise, supported me. A servant admitted he had seen things. A neighbor recalled whispers. Slowly, the threads of his lies began to unravel, yet, the weight of society pressed hard. People asked me, "Why are you doing this? Even if you win, you will lose everything, your husband, your home, your respect." And I replied, "Respect without dignity is nothing but chains. I would rather stand alone with truth than live surrounded by lies." Those words became my shield. And finally, the walls that had trapped me began to crack. The day the verdict was given, I felt my knees weaken. The judge declared my father-in-law guilty. He was sentenced. The room erupted in noise, some gasps, some protests, some relief. I sat still, my hands trembling, my heart pounding. It was over. The mask had fallen. The man everyone respected was now seen for who he truly was. But victory, my child, does not always taste sweet. When I returned home, my husband would not look at me. My mother-in-law cursed me, calling me a destroyer of families. Relatives cut ties. Neighbors avoided me. I had won justice, but I had lost everything else. There were nights I questioned myself. Was it worth it? To lose a family, to lose love, to live with 1,000 eyes judging me? But then I would remember the girl in the mirror. The hollow-eyed prisoner I once was. And I knew I could never go back to her. Yes, I was alone. But I was free. My scars remained. My heart carried wounds that would never fully heal. But those wounds became proof that I had survived. Proof that I had chosen dignity over silence, and that, my child, is a victory greater than any court could give. Now, as I sit before you, with silver in my hair and years etched into my skin, I speak not as a victim, but as a survivor. Life has taught me that silence is not peace. Silence is a cage. And cages, no matter how golden, are still prisons. To every woman listening, I know your fear. I know the weight of doubt, the sting of disbelief, the chains of shame. But hear me, your voice matters. Even if it shakes. Even if no one believes you at first. Even if the world turns against you. Speak. Do not carry the burden of their honor at the cost of your soul. Your dignity is yours alone. Protect it, and to the men, to the families, to the society that hears these words, believe women. Believe your daughters, your wives, your sisters. When they whisper their pain, do not silence them. Do not shame them. Because disbelief does not protect honor, it destroys lives. I lost much in my battle. But I gained myself. I stand taller now, not because I never fell, but because I rose again each time. My story is not just mine. It belongs to every woman silenced in her home. It belongs to every voice drowned out by tradition, every tear hidden behind closed doors. I tell it to you so you may carry it forward. So you may remind the world that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to stand despite it. Remember this, my child, strength does not come from never breaking. Strength comes from breaking and choosing to heal, and so, if you ever find yourself in the darkness I once knew, remember my words. Raise your voice. Take your stand. For silence is prison, but truth is freedom. If my story touched you, share it. Share it with your daughters, your mothers, your sisters, your friends. Let it be a reminder that no woman should suffer in silence. If you are living this pain right now, know this, you are not alone. Your voice has power. Your courage can change everything. Break the silence. For silence only protects the oppressor. But your truth? Your truth can set you free.